Hey guys, this is
Oh,
officially a first recording of a new podcast because those three MFAers. Um, how's it going? You guys
Pretty
are. I
good.
hate you so much. I hate you. I'm okay. I guess I'm Joshua Stir.
what
Can
do
you
you do,
introduce?
Josh?
I'm unemployed right now thanks to COVID-19. No, I got artist, actor, director, mover, dancer, uh, extraordinary video gamer. Went to the MFA master's program at the Actor Studio Drama School in directing. That's awesome. What do you guys do? Who are you?
Caleb, you want to go first?
Oh,
Okay, Brandon,
Did we?
you go.
Yeah, I don't know if we lost Caleb, but all right. I'm Brandon. I'm from Toronto. I'm an actor. I also went to the Actor Studio Drama School with Joshua here and our other friend Caleb, who seems to have disappeared. But yeah, I'm just in Toronto trying to act it up, but under quarantine from COVID-19, so
Woot.
not doing that.
and I am also here. My name is Caleb. I am a writer and an actor and a filmmaker. And I thought, you know what? I think we all thought, you know what the world needs right now in these
Another
trying times?
podcast with
Another
three guys.
podcast. Yeah, another podcast with three men. Uh, no, but it's good. I'm survive. I'm surviving. You know.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess why we're here, we watched this. So anyway, I guess I could give a little thing of what Caleb
Josh,
told me.
you suggested a movie, right?
I suggested a movie. Well, I was gonna say like, yeah. So I said we're gonna. What's this gonna be? You're gonna hear our critique or our thoughts on different kind of movies. I chose for our inaugural episode the movie Black Swan from 10 years ago, 2010. And I thought it'd be a cool start to this kind of adventure we're trying to put together because, we were all trained differently in our master's program and at the actor studio. So, it's the method and Stanislavski and whatnot. And it's very interesting to look at movies from a different lens like that and like kind of see not necessarily from the way it's shot or the score or how you see a lot of critiques and stuff like that, but like on genuine, honest, like performance, the craft, and things like that. And this is a great movie because you got the dance aspect of it, and the kind of the surreal or the fantastical version of it too. So I think it's a good start. So, anything else I should say? I guess why
No,
we're
it's legit.
doing this? Okay,
What did you think of it?
I liked it. I there were moments that I was sitting there and my mouth was open. I don't know if it's because of the pulling the fingernail out of the finger illusion
Yeah, that was
or
fucking
like
gross.
some of the stuff that happened was kind of shocking for me, even though it was an hallucination. And I'm sitting here just going, "What the fuck?" Of course. So I did like it. I thought it brought to light a lot of different topics and a lot of different things, and we'll definitely touch base on all those at a certain point. But we could just go around and you know, what you guys thought.
I I mean, here's my thing. It being 10 years since the movie came out, knowing I think Natalie Portman won an Academy Award for it, right? It got
She did.
nominated for a bunch of stuff. I was disappointed in the first half of the movie. I just found it was slow for me and boring, and like I get what was happening. I understand that she was like playing the White Swan the first half and then the Black Swan the second half, and I understand all of that. It was hard for me to get into at the beginning. That's all.
That's right.
I didn't feel that way personally. I think I maybe liked it the most. It sounds like out of the three of us, I think it's one of the best movies of the decade. It's definitely my favorite Aronofsky movie, and we'll talk all about Darren Aronofsky and his little shenanigans later. I'm sure we'll get into that. But I don't know. I didn't find it slow at all. I found it to be very mesmerizing. I think that there's lots of like subtle aspects of the production. Like I know, Josh, you said you didn't necessarily want to talk about the production aspects, and you wanted to focus on the performance. But I feel like her performance was like, I mean, it's like you can't talk about anything in a vacuum, right? Like everything was kind of structured around her performance, but it definitely, the movie's like effect came out of like a totality of like really good direction, like really subtle production design, like all of the just like for a movie about like identity and like fractures and like what's it called? God damn it. There was lots of mirrors for like the duplicity and the I am like embarrassed. I can't think of the fucking word I'm trying to say. Hold on.
Get out. Go to your room.
Yeah, I need to just shut the fuck up. But no, I found Portman's performance to be very powerful, and I think that like it's she played a woman who clearly is not altogether in the head, and is kind of like dependent on people like controlling every aspect of her life in the pursuit of this thing, of this like great art, and everybody around her. I'm sorry. Yeah, you can go now. I'm just rambling, I guess.
No. Yeah, go. I mean, collect your thoughts or whatever. But like, I guess going right into, let's talk about like
dichotomy. Jesus Christ, thank you. Sorry.
You didn't remember dichotomy?
I know.
That is the word that I learned 3 years ago in PDU.
What a freaking nerd!
Oh my god, dichotomy was used so much in school. Dichotomy this, dichotomy that, dichotomy. Oh my god, Caleb, we're gonna talk after this, and I'm gonna reprimand you for that.
Did you guys talk dichotomy in school? Nobody ever taught dichotomy with me.
You have to be in PDU. That's all.
You know what I mean.
I wasn't PDU, you jerk.
The whole like movie is structured like the ballet. The black. So yeah, maybe we should talk about what the fucking movie is in the first place. If you haven't seen it, so
wait, hold on.
So if you haven't seen it,
pause, Brandon. Spoiler alert! Anybody who's listening to this who hasn't seen it, you should probably watch it.
Spoiler alert! If you haven't seen it, it's about these two swans that live in a lake.
Spoiler for a movie that came out 10 fucking years ago.
Right. So if you haven't seen it, I guess I can't fault you for it. But I hadn't seen it before I watched it, so
I'd seen like parts of it before, but not the whole movie.
This was my second time seeing. I saw it in theaters on a date, which made which made the one scene very interesting to watch.
Well, which scene? Which scene is that?
Which one? Which moment that she touched herself?
Which scene are you talking about?
The subway.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Oh, and the old guy, yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about how that old man does a fantastic job of being super fucking creepy?
Dude, he got a SAG card for that.
Dude,
he got his fucking. He got his points. He got his union card. No.
Do we want to go? Okay, I was gonna go. Through the vehicle of the mother and like the start of the movie and like the family dynamic. Do you guys just want to jump into the whole like highly sexual, having an adult would who never really came to terms with their sexuality, discovering that during this show? I think
for me, I would like the conversation about the movie follows like a ballerina. She is in an unnamed but we can assume prestigious ballet company in New York City, and they're getting ready to launch their season. Their new season is going to start with a reimagining production of Swan Lake, and kind of what I love about Natalie Portman and her performance, and her character's name's Nina, and she is in total contrast, in keeping up with like themes from the movie and also the original Swan Lake ballet, the white and the black swan motif. She's like directly contrast with everybody else in her life, right? Like she has a true appreciation for the art and the art form and the artists, and she wants to be great and she wants to do good stuff. And all of the other kind of like ballerinas in the company are sort of like out there for vanity or like fame, just like the idea of like being a ballerina in and of itself without like contributing to the art. You have like her mom who like was a failed ballerina and like makes allusions to her like giving up that career in order to have Natalie Portman's character. You have Vincent Cassel, who I think is like really great as like the creepy fucking like French director. We'll talk about him. Then you have Winona Ryder as the old Swan Queen, like the woman who you infer was like in Natalie Portman's position when she was younger. And I thought she did a great job, and it was really interesting stunt casting to have like a faded Hollywood like teen star in like that role. And then you have fucking Mila Kunis, who in my opinion gave as good a performance as Natalie did.
Right.
If not, in my opinion, if not better.
And yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I would say better, but definitely as good, at least.
I think what's interesting, you hit on this idea that, you know, she's the most dedicated ballerina in the company. Her mom says so. You can see like the first shot is her stretching and like, you know, breaking in the shoes. And like what I love about this movie is that like ballerinas, like you can maybe go through point shoes, like, you know, a few every year. You know, you can like wear them for every so often because they wear them so much, and it's so damaging to the foot. It's like, but you have to like break them in. Like you take out the sole so they're more flexible, and you can really have that point or that pointed foot. You like burn you like singe the ribbons and stuff so they don't. It's just like so crazy, and you see her like in like that's her life, right? She doesn't even want to have a cake later in the movie to celebrate because, you know, I don't know, she's on a Tic Tac diet, you know. But
Also,
it's like
that.
I don't it. It's so crazy. She's so dedicated. And then, sorry, my thought was, you have her, and she's so working so much on trying to get this role or trying to like be featured in this company. Do they say how old she is in the movie?
She's younger than 28, but I don't know how old she's supposed to be. But I know she's younger than 28 because the scene.
No, she is 28. That's what Wikipedia says.
All right.
She's 28
Okay, she's 28.
I knew that I was younger
also,
at that age because
for the record, they are.
All right.
For the record, it is the New York City Ballet.
Is the New York City Ballet?
That's what I thought.
Yeah, it is the New York City. So he must have got the okay for that and the rights for it.
Because I definitely just saw a company in that theater, so it was really cool to watch them actually use Lincoln Center, you know.
Yeah.
But and then having somebody like Mila Kunis,
It's Mila.
Mila Kunis come in, and we don't know, she's from San Francisco or San Francisco, and she comes in and she has this like looseness to her, right? So like Natalie Portman was always, you know, critiqued on like the control and the disciplines, like loosen up, be more fluid, and you know, Mila was like the young fluid, like I don't give a fuck, but I'm still gonna put the work in, you know, because life is too short. We should live our lives, you know. And I kind of like that dynamic to Natalie Portman, where, you know, she's all business.
Yeah, well, they're the two. Sorry, you can go, Brandon.
There's that one scene where they're like, it's Natalie Portman and the director, and they're looking down on the rest of the, you know, cast and crew of Swan Lake, and Mila Kunis is just having the best time, like dancing around down there and like falling into people, and he's explaining to Natalie Portman about that fluidity and how important that is, and that's, you know, that's half of the coin that you have to put together, you know.
It's too, and that's why I think it all kind of ties into like the theme of like opposites and like contrast and dichotomy, because they are kind of they embody two different sides of like the artistic endeavor and spirit, whereas like Nina is all about like discipline and control and like perfection and like the ideal, but like that's only half of it, and you need the other half, which Mila Kunis embodies. I think her name is Lucy or Lulu or Lily. Where she is that like the wild passion, the drive, like the ethereal, like the thing you can't quantify. It's like that, you know, artistic passion and talent which you can't cultivate, that just has to be natural, and it's equal two sides of the same coin, which is why I think it's brilliant, like with what happens later in the movie where they kind of, you know, she manifests kind of Lily as a part of herself, but we can get into that later. But it's a perfect mirror of the white swan, black swan transformation thing. I mean, it's just really smartly put together, from like a script writing and like directorial presentation standpoint. I honestly think it's one of the best movies of the decade.
Wow. I will hold you to that. We have it here first, ladies and gentlemen, from Caleb John Cushing's mouth. Sorry, was I supposed to say
I thought A Knight's Tale was better.
What?
It still wasn't in this decade, you fucking goof.
That's fair.
But going into that though, like in terms of dancers, like you see the show like Dance Moms, and like these moms who like force their daughters to go into dance. And if I have children, I hope I do one day, and they want to dance, like I will support that dream. But as soon as they don't want to, like I am totally fine with that, because you have to follow your heart. You never want to make a child do something, especially ballet, especially pointe. You know what I mean? Like girls go through this thing, and I've seen it with my friends and things like that, because I've taken a couple years of ballet, modern. I love modern more because, you know, it's a little more fluid and a little like not so rigid, but you need ballet. It's like it's the structure of all dance, right? So But forcing your daughter but then keeping her, because when I saw her room the first time when it was first shown, it was like it's all pink. You got stuffed animals. She like, she cuts her daughter's nails. She puts her into bed. She puts on this music box that was really creepy, and it's just all like she's what 27, 28 years old, and she's
Yeah.
acting
Well,
like
no,
her
yeah.
mom's treating her like she's 12.
She's infantilized,
and
and like in this idea of being like to keep her pure and like only focused on the art form. I mean, it is really disturbing. I mean, this movie's billed as like a psychological horror film, and I think that there is something like viscerally uncomfortable about watching like a grown woman behave like a prepubescent child. I mean, she hasn't had sex before. Like it's really crazy, like how they like diminutive size her.
Well, even more so, like with all the special effects and everything that happened, and her like ripping pieces of skin off and stuff, the scene that creeped me out the most was like her trying to play with herself and then turning over and seeing like her mom is asleep in her room.
Oh, see, I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah.
No, it was an amazingly well done scene. I was just like, "Ooh, fuck, that's creepy." That's very,
no, it definitely it's like darkly comical.
It was really well.
For sure.
It was really well done. It was just like the implications of that are so insane.
It is uncomfortable. I mean, yeah, she's been controlled in every aspect of her life. And I think one of the more powerful, subtle moments of it that I wrote down was when she doesn't get the part at first, or like Vincent Castle kind of implies that she didn't get the Swan Queen, and then she goes to his office and he like tries to kind of like seduce her, and she like bites his fucking lip, which is like the first moment of her kind of like rebelling and like becoming like the very, very first like moment of like transition beginning into the Black Swan, right? And though because she does that, he like gives her the part. But then when she calls her mom, that's what she says. She says, he gave it to me, not I did it, or like I won the part, or like you know what I mean? Like it's just a small thing, but it like signifies that like she really just has no confidence or like sense of self-worth. Like she's totally reliant on other people. And like, I think that her kind of like coming into her own person and like breaking through the kind of means of control is like the journey of the movie. But
that's all artists though, That's all.
No, for sure.
Like we don't work unless somebody gives us a part,
But would you ever put it like, you would never kind of identify it as like your work, like you worked hard to earn it, like that's what I'm saying. Like
everybody's worked hard to earn it. Like I guess, I mean, yes, I'm. This is just like for the sake of argument and for the sake of like, branching it out to a small like thought trail of, like you go into auditions, you dance, like even like you apply for a job, like yeah, you've worked hard to do all of this stuff on your resume. You put the work into your audition. You put the work into that, and you lay that. Hopefully, you audition well, and you don't let the nerves get a hold of you. And you put it all out there. You did all your hard work, but it's up to the casting director. It's up to the director. It's up to the people to say, "Ooh, I saw that. I'm going to give you that role."
Yeah, but even on the other side of that, like think about this though. When you left there and you get the email that you got the role, would you immediately call somebody and be like, they gave me the role, or be like, I got the role? And I think you'd say the second one.
Absolutely. It's a mindset thing. And like, that's what I'm saying. Like she was just so like, it's like she wasn't her own person.
Right. Oh, totally.
Also,
I totally get that.
I mean, that brings me back to something you guys were saying before, where you were talking about, her drive and commitment and that she wants to be the best. But I don't even know if her commitment or her drive or any of it comes back to her wanting perfection, like she keeps talking about. At least not for herself. It seems more so that she wants to reach perfection so that everyone around her will be happy.
She does it for the other people.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to be this internal drive. It all seems to be from,
she was clearly, she was clearly like brought up in this world to be this. Like she has like external conditioning to like want to do this in the first place for sure. But I don't know, there's little moments in the beginning, like, regardless of where the love for it came from. Like, like when the girls are kind of like warming up in the hallway, talking about how like Winona Ryder is like retiring and she's so fucking old. But she like Natalie Portman is kind of like has this admiration for her for like being the fucking queen of ballet, and like, and for, working hard and being talented. And I think that she like whether or not like somebody instilled it in her, like she definitely has like a huge like kind of like deep love for the art form. And
yeah, and you can see it. You can see it at the end when she's like laying there. Just, spoiler alert again. When she's laying there like dying or whatever. That regardless of everything else, when you're stabbed and you're out there performing, that has to be to a certain degree internally motivated, right? Like that moment when she says, I was perfect, and that smile on her face, that was the best moment in the movie for me. I thought that was like,
I think for sure, like the last half hour when they start the ballet sequence is all pretty fucking incredible. Like from like visuals and performance and direction, like that last like half hour, 25 minutes is like amazing. And that's like definitely the crown jewel of the movie. From like a visuals, directing, just electric, just like I don't know, and like the sound design of like when she's kind of transforming into the bird or whatever, like of the feathers and like the growling, like I don't know, I fucking loved it. Like that's the kind of shit that I like. It's all fucking weird and creepy.
Well, also like I don't know if you remember how you felt the first time you saw it, but for me, I was like, did she just kill Mila Kunis? Is Mila Kunis dead? Is she not? And then when she comes back and she's clearly not dead because she pops up, that all got me, hook, line, and sinker. I was in for the ride.
Yeah. I don't remember what I thought like 10 years ago. I think I was like a less like, like intelligent and like artistically like articulate. And I was probably just like, wow, it's fucking crazy. I don't know. I think that, to me that how I interpret it is after she leaves the club, that she has like manifested Lily as like the darker part of her personality, or like a part of her personality, and she ends up stabbing the part of herself, like killing the part of herself that she needs to in order to fully become the Black Swan. Yeah, and so that's why she and that's why she stabs her. It's like she stabbed herself, and then she basically kills herself in order to reach artistic perfection. And I feel like the movie is this like beautiful, nightmarish, like psychological trip, but it's also like a cautionary tale because it's a movie that's like about art and abuse and how like we kind of as a society and a culture expect and like glorify when artists kind of are self-destructive and push themselves to the brink in order to kind of like make great art. And I think that's solidified with the end of the movie, where how she literally kills herself, and she's like, "I was perfect, I did it." Yeah. And she's just met with like rapturous applause and like people chanting her name, and then like the movie fades to white. And I just wanted to know what you guys felt about that, and like if you agree or if you have different thoughts.
Well, my only question, I mean, I thought it was great. I thought, there definitely is a moment of like how far people are willing to go for that perfection, right? Like, because she also was dropped in like the first act. Yeah. People were like, what the fuck is going on? What happened? And she was like, he dropped me. When it's like, no, bitch, you got, you were distracted and you loosened up and you weren't as stiff as you should have been for him to hold you. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, it's whatever, but she was at that point where it was everybody else's fault. Everybody's taking her part. Everybody's dropping her, whatever. But at the end, my only question about, because they've done this really good job in the movie about what's real, what's not real, what's a hallucination, what's reality, that the way they cut it off at the end, like, honestly, I don't think we really know, or we're supposed to know, like, or we're supposed to, like, did she actually kill herself? Was it just another hallucination? Or is she fine? But the movie's great, how it just kind of cuts out like that. But the only reason I maybe think she didn't actually kill herself, that I think was like another thing, was because like during one of the shots when she was up on the rock or whatever, spinning or doing her pirouettes, maybe it was an editing mistake, but there wasn't the blood on her outfit, and there was blood on her outfit when she put on
more layers of her costume, and then like when she like
so there wasn't that blood,
like, you know what I mean,
the whole
like
time.
I think that was so that like when she was on the crash pad, like no one else would notice until it bled through that like second layer of costume. I don't know, that's how I interpreted it.
Also, just based on the way they reacted,
yeah, like other people were like, oh my god, you're fucking bleeding, and they're like, call an ambulance.
That's that's kind of a thing of like, yeah, and that's the first time they actually truly reacted to what what was happening. Half the time, people were getting stabbed or dying or whatever, and even the people having sex behind backstage, like she thought it was the director, but it really was one of the dancers. You know what I mean? But she's in her head so much that
yeah,
She
No,
thought that
yeah.
she
Was it
thought
the
that
director?
Lily
Was it-
and
yeah.
Vincent Castle, who's I
She
think his
thought it
name's
was the
Thomas,
director,
but he's
yeah.
French, so they say Thomas. So they were like fucking, but then he transformed into a fucking bird, and she was like, "Oh fuck, I gotta get out."
He went full bird mode on her. I was actually just reading this on the Wikipedia page. So apparently, at the end of the movie, the entire cast is not just credited as their character, but as the character of the Swan Lake show as well. So for Vincent Castle, he's Thomas Leroy / the gentleman.
Yeah, because he like seduces her.
Yeah, well, so like she's Nina Sayers / the Swan Queen. Mila Kunis is Lily / the Black Swan, so on and so forth.
Mm.
You know?
Yeah,
So
well,
like
that's their thematic role as it would connect to Black Swan. Like the director
Exactly.
isn't
Oh,
actually
interesting.
dancing in the show.
That's what Caleb's saying is, the director for the show, the Swan Lake production in this world of the New York Ballet,
right.
was the gentleman role for the White Swan or the Swan Queen in the show, like in the actual performance, the dance performance. Like Lily Mila Kunis, she was the Black Swan.
Not the
in the
in
movie
universe
for
ballet, but the actual ballet.
Black Swan.
Yeah.
Like as a
no, we're on the same
I,
page. But you know what's fucking crazy? It's a slight
like he
tangent,
framed
but,
the whole movie
which is
that
another
way,
layer
guess,
that I appreciate.
yeah, for sure. But what's insane is that the guy who is in the universe, like in the world of the movie, dancing that part, his name's Benjamin Millepied or Millepied. I don't know how to fucking speak French.
Is that her husband?
Yeah, they met on the set of this movie, and he was like dating a fucking famous ballerina, and then he's like, "Fuck this, I'm gonna marry Natalie Portman." So
dude, they had like a kid the year later too.
Yeah, so it's just funny how like art imitates life,
wow.
I guess.
Well, and that's always true with like, if you're working
but like
with people,
in a story about like seduction
spend a lot of
and
time
kind of
together,
all this shit, it just I
bond,
thought it was interesting. Did you guys also see the other the cameo? I was wondering if you guys were going to bring it up, but there's a special cameo in the movie.
Oh yeah, I was going to bring this up earlier. Are we talking about the Winter Soldier?
Yeah,
I'm into it. Yeah, that took me. The Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan.
Wait, what?
He was in the movie.
He's one of the guys at the bar.
He's like the guy at the bar that is trying to pick her up. And he looks so young, man. He looks so...
He's got a little, yeah.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
It's Sebastian Stan,
so
who I love. He's the
guy
best.
who doesn't know what Black Swan is. He's the one that's sitting with her.
But it reminded me of him in like a Hot Tub Time Machine. That's how long ago this was,
This was even earlier than that.
Oh, you haven't seen Hot Tub Time Machine? That's a great movie.
Oh, I never saw that one.
Maybe Brandon has a recommendation. No, but I just wanted to fucking shout him out because he's a good guy. But that was another.
It's gonna be amazing.
That was another instance of when I felt like they kind of showcased Nina's love of the art form, because she's like, he's just clearly trying to fuck her, and he's like, oh, what's ballet? And he doesn't give a shit, but she's like so passionate and like talking about how much she loves it, and like and then you have Mila Kunis like, dude, shut up, trying to fuck these guys, like, what are you're a nerd. But that's, I mean, I think it just feeds into that, where she's like, no, this is all I care about, this is my entire life. And it's like, one of the few moments she fucking smiles in the whole goddamn movie.
Well, and I did like how Natalie Portman, like, even like in her voice and stuff, it was very sheltered, very like soft. It's very. She was always, what did I say, like apologetic to like. She's always, trying to say sorry, I'm taking up space type of mentality. But she does get that window with him to kind of see that she actually does enjoy the ballet, and it is very important to her. But she does try and take up very small space, which I think you also see in kind of how she is with like essentially looking like a swan, I mentioned a little bit when we were kind of discussing about this, like how her neck is skinny, her head is
that
big,
animal
the way
work,
her
baby.
Eyes are. It's just like she carries herself like a swan.
Of course, no, she totally embodied. I don't know. I was looking at
Do you think she did some of that stuff?
I think so. I think it's just. I don't know if maybe she wouldn't have done it if the movie wasn't literally called Black Swan, about like a fucking swan princess. I think she just did like the work that I felt she had to do.
Well,
I'm sure
even
that.
like, I mean, even just as a ballerina doing that show, I would think you would have to do animal work now.
Yeah, yeah, true. Or just
You know?
or just like the nature of kind of like how you would imagine a swan holds
Yeah,
itself is like very
Mhm.
like indicative of like what a ballerina would do anyway. Like I think that's why it's such a famous ballet. It like works really well.
Yeah.
right, exactly. Like, so the choreography is the choreography. Like you don't say now do this as if you were a swan. You say, you just do these moves, and the way
Yeah.
the way that I guess you would remember what like one of the choreographers was working with her arms, whatever. Like she's like, just be loose, like you maybe go up, but she was following her exactly because she didn't want to make improv choices or anything. She was just like doing what she was told. But like I think the way the ballerinas do is through the arms, like and because the legs and the points and the lines and stuff and the leaps are all just that's always just going to be
Yeah.
what it
Right.
is. You can't
Yeah.
really veer off from that because then you're doing contemporary modern dance. you know. Let's can we go into the whole what you guys thoughts of it's what movie came out in 2010. The Me Too movement that had popped up a couple years ago, 3 years ago. And I don't know if like we can go on either like showcasing like onto like on the screen like Natalie Portman pleasing herself, touching herself, and then the whole seduction of the director and how it's just culturally acceptable
Well,
it was
yeah.
in the company that everyone just assumed that she slept with the guy um, when she really didn't. And then the whole in the rehearsal room where he was seducing her and he was using it as a tactic to
Well, I
show
guess
her what she
that's the
needed to do
question too. Is like
in
how
the
much of it
role
was him showing
and
her,
how that played. So I want
right?
to see your thoughts.
Because he needed her to get it, and how much of it was him just trying to bang her. I think that's like the big question, isn't it?
Well, I think it's both. I think that he viewed the seduction as something that was like appropriate in the pursuit of great art. And I think that the question is like whether or not that is acceptable. And I don't think it is, you know, because and even the mom says, he has a reputation. Like it's like very heavily implied that
Yeah.
like Winona Ryder and him were like romantically involved until she got too old, and then he kicked her out of the
Right.
fucking company. Like he used people. And there's this amazing, very small scene where like it's what before or Winona Ryder gets in an accident and she's in the hospital, and there's Natalie Portman and Vincent Castle are meeting outside, and I have it written down because I thought it was like insane. But he's basically like, fuck, I can't find it now. Oh, here we go. So hearing about the news about Beth's accident, and Vincent Castle kind of speculates that she did it on purpose, like she attempted suicide. And then Vincent Castle, he says like, I think it's honest and I think it's amazing, and that's why she was a good artist, because she would just like do that because she was so committed. And I think that's like fucking insane. That's like the glorification of like self-destructive behavior, And Natalie Portman like takes that in and it's like, wow, like you're right. And it's like, no, stop. This is insane.
Right.
Because I don't think it's appropriate at all to be like,
No,
doing the
like,
things that he does.
Like even just like if I was like working, and I've had this in the past, where like we're working with like a director who like is intentionally, and will say this, like trying to like piss me off because they think like that's what I need. It's like, just let me do my job. You know what I mean? Let me do my process as an actor.
No, I think, there's a difference between, being guiding and, kind of like there's constructive ways to kind of elicit emotion and get people in the right headspace, but that doesn't include sexual assault or like physical assault,
Right.
He's a fucking nut.
I actually just got a booklet. I got a booklet in the mail from the Stage Directors and Choreographers Society because I'm still an associate. And they essentially it's a handbook of like guiding, because they have intimacy coaches or they have intimacy directors or whatever, to like walk people through and make sure people are safe and things like that. But also as a director, we need to know how to kind of deal with that. You always, obviously you always ask, and if you're comfortable with it or whatever, and you never, you always, there's always protocols. And I think, but I also know that maybe that's just me, but it's, there are women like, especially like Lily or Mila's character, yes, a lot of the women are like, oh, maybe they're jealous because he hasn't chosen them out of the group to be the Swan Queen or whatever. There's always that level of, consciousness of like, okay, this guy's a dick. He's gonna do this, but like, where's that line of, am I gonna put myself in that position because I'm need this role and I'm
I
not
think
gonna
the
say
argument
whatever,
is that,
or
like the
is he
fact that that's
fully
even like
like
something that
assaulting me?
people genuinely accept as like legitimately on the table. Like, oh yeah, that's just how it works. Like that's insane. Like I think that like the women who take advantage of the fucked up system,
Oh, of course.
to do what they have to do to get
It
ahead
shouldn't
is a
be there.
different story. But I don't think
Yeah,
it
it's
should be.
also
I don't think it should be in place in like something that's acceptable in the first place. Like the fact that we can
Yeah.
all sit and watch this movie and be like, yeah, that's how it is. That's insane.
but that's the thing, and that's like not how it is anymore. And now that hopefully
That's
wouldn't
true.
be happening right now. Do have outlets, and it's way more positive and like a thing you can do. Hopefully, to speak out about it. You know what I mean? Like you would hope that if this movie was made in 2020, this movie starts with that director
Yeah.
already being fired, right? And there's a new director coming in who's like, okay, so we're starting from scratch. Like not Darren Aronofsky, I mean the director of Black
No,
Swan.
I know. We know what you meant.
I will have to say though that
It'd be a different movie, a different tone.
it's interesting if it was made in 2020
But I also
today.
don't think it's condoning anything necessarily, though.
It would be a different
Like, I don't think
story.
this
It'd be a
movie's
different
condoning any of the
because
behavior.
I think you kind of needed it. No, I mean, it's not saying this is right or this is a movie about a guy who like she didn't stand up for herself except until she bit, and then she succumbed to it in the rehearsal room, and then that's
Yeah.
all she like
Yeah, it's a
thought about,
pattern of
right? Like
abuse. They
kind of like probably
they
Winona Ryder
prey
did.
on
She fell
people's
in love with the
insecurities
director, the
and
guy,
like tell
you
them
know.
that they inflate their ego by saying they're being brave, and it's just fucked. It's just fucked up. I thought that Vincent Castle did a very good job as that
And I
kind
thought
of
he
guy.
was fantastic in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was really, really
Yeah.
good.
He's such a fuck. The scene where he like invites her home and he's like, "Yeah, do you like to fuck?" And she's like,
Totally.
Like I don't know.
Yeah.
He's just so blatant about it. He's like, "Come on, do you like sex?"
Well, like just and having like her homework was to touch herself. Like, I mean, I don't know any director who would actually tell you that, but there comes a point where like it's funny because maybe her like one of her girlfriends
But
or
that's
like
the
one of
thing
her
is that
friends
she
are like,
doesn't have any friends. She's isolated.
Yeah.
And also I like that. I liked that callback too when because he says live a little,
yeah,
and then when he like later in the movie when she has like hallucinated Lily, and she's like, "Come on, live a little," because that's like her echoing kind of like what Vincent Castle said to her. I thought that was really, really well done.
the illusion that Mila Kunis came over but didn't wake her up. She overslept. And
That was my favorite moment from Mila Kunis when she like Natalie Portman walks away and she's like, "Did you had a fucking wet dream about me? Well, was I good?"
Yeah.
That was great.
Yeah, right.
Was
And
it
like
that
her riding that line too, like the way that she delivered those lines, I was playing it, like riding the line of like teasing but not being mean and being like, I just like she's a bundle of light in this movie. I thought she did such
which
an
is funny
incredible
because
job.
she's supposed to be the Black Swan, so it's just these contrasts, are so interesting.
Yeah.
Whereas, sorry.
No, I
Yeah.
was gonna say we have a little bit of time left.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Do you?
I don't know if you
I want
guys
to talk
are.
in terms of like dance doubles and
No, yeah, Caleb, give us the
Natalie
breakdown.
Portman did she
There's a controversy around this movie. Basically, there's this, yeah, that'll be the soundbite we play whenever we talk about a controversy.
That's what I was going for.
No, but so there's a controversy, and I want to make sure I'm going to pull it up on Wikipedia just so I make sure I get all the names right. But basically, there's a dancer in I think the American Ballet Company. Her name is the American Ballet Theater. So her name's Sarah Lane, and she was the dance double for Natalie Portman in the movie. And basically, when the movie came out, Sarah Lane, this very famous, very good ballerina, sued because she felt she didn't get enough credit. And basically, the production kind of like was like, no, that's ridiculous. Like we get, and Darren Aronofsky came out and was like, look, Natalie Portman is doing most of the dancing. Like it's very hard. You like if you want to be a ballerina, you have to train from age 6. Like it's not something you can just like jump into as an adult. But she had apparently Natalie Portman had like previous training and then like really
that's why
like
I was
fucking
like, is she doing it all?
Same with Mila Kunis, apparently.
Yeah. But like for the harder stuff, for like the really insane stuff, they had this woman, Sarah Lane, come in. But Aaron Aronofsky was saying when you look at the final edit of the movie, he said like somewhere around 80% of what you see in the movie is Natalie Portman. And so they felt that they gave Sarah Lane like proper compensation and her kind of involvement was overstated. And I don't know if Natalie Portman herself has ever said anything. Sarah Lane went on to admit that Natalie Portman like worked very, very hard. She's a very amazing actress. But to say that she did all of the dancing is ridiculous to anyone who knows anything about ballet. And that's kind of interesting because like every single dancer I know hates this fucking movie. So I don't know.
Right. Well, that's why I was like so kind of blown away. Like I was, because like I look for that kind of stuff. I see, like be like, okay, how are they shooting it? Can you see her face? Is it quick? Is it like behind the head? You know, like so you can't really tell who the face is. And for the most part, I was like, fuck it, Natalie Portman is being like thrown in the air. She's doing the little dance number. And like, here's the thing for movies, and I feel like this with as my level of dancing. Like, obviously, I'm not a male like a professional male dancer. But like obviously male ballerinos or whatever, they're just there to make the ballerina look pretty. So it's a little bit easier to fake your way once you've had a few months of intense training to get back into it. Because you don't have to be on point. You don't have to be, But I can do choreography. You give me some rehearsal time or whatever, and I can fake it really good, And I was curious as to like how much Natalie Portman put into it to fake really good. Swan Lake, essentially. Like that's the work that I appreciate an actress putting towards a movie like this, the dedication, but then there's also that argument of like, why didn't they just cast a ballerina who can act, and like make it real? Because, there's so many artists out there that aren't working, but
here's the
celebrity,
quote from
just like,
editor-in-chief Wendy Perrone of Dance Magazine. Do people really believe that it takes only 1 year to make a ballerina? We know that Natalie Portman studied ballet as a kid and had a year of intensive training for the film, but that doesn't add up to being a ballerina. However, it seems that many people believe that Portman did her own dancing in Black Swan. So that's pretty bitchy.
And yeah, I think that the conversation, to me, I look at it like, all right, you have stunt doubles for action scenes, right? Like for the shit that like is like, quote like unsafe, or like, you have special training for people to do this. And it's kind of the same thing, I feel like for this movie, like Natalie Portman did everything that she could, and she trained really hard to be able to do a lot. But for the very specific like things, like the insert shots of like when she needed to be on point, for example, or like the really crazy shit, they had the body double. Like it's like a stunt double. Now, I think, well, just really quickly, I think that in general, people in those fields deserve more credit. Absolutely. And I think that's kind of where I fall on it. It's like, I feel like to like discredit the work Natalie did isn't fair, but I also think that those kind of stunt doubles and performers need to get more recognition. I think that's fair.
Yeah, also, like, at this point, after the movie's done, like, it has nothing to do with Natalie Portman. She went in and did her job. None of this has anything to do with her. She didn't decide how much credit was going to be given to people. You know what I mean? Like, it's so frustrating that she gets, like, drawn into that.
So I don't get that vibe from Natalie Portman in terms of an actor.
No, I feel like she just goes and does her job.
She's the one who, like,
to the best of her abilities.
And everything, and she's, like, that diva. You know what I mean? Like,
almost the exact same thing as Whiplash. For that, he's a drummer. Exactly. Like, Miles Teller plays the drums, and obviously, like, worked on it a lot, and played as much as he could. And then obviously there's scenes in that where he can't be doing it because you have to be the best in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's the same thing. I mean, you work your ass off as an actor and you do your best to learn all these skills. And then obviously for certain things, they have to sub in somebody who's actually the best in the world at it.
I know. I mean, I think it's, there's lots of layers to it, but I think we're all on the same page, at least the three of us.
Yeah.
It sounds like.
Yeah.
I guess I want to share in this episode real quick about the funny little dealing with the COVID-19 and the Black Swan event that randomly just say it on so that we can get it recorded, is the Black Swan event is an unpredictable event that is beyond what is normally expected of a situation and has potentially severe consequences. Black Swan events are characterized by their extreme rarity, their severe impact, and the widespread instance they were obvious in hindsight. It's interesting, like it just with the coronavirus going around and things like that. It's kind of we're like living in unprecedented times. But it was cool that the Black Swan and her hallucinating and all that pressure from everything and just going blah. But what is like final thoughts? I think in terms of as an artist, as artists, the pressure of the industry and like trying to handle like if you get a gig of a lifetime, a lead actor, a lead performer in this big blockbuster or this Broadway play. I remember when I was in Pippin, I was leading player back in a small community theater in Ames before I moved here. And the opening night or that first weekend, I messed up on the lyrics for one of the final number, and I remember like inside panicking. It's like, because I've never really had a big role before. Nobody's ever cast me in a lead role. And I'm always deathly afraid of fucking up. And what does that pressure do to you? I still have yet to prove myself. I think after the training and the program that we just went through for 3 years, like obviously put that work and you dedicate yourself, Now the things that I know now, I think I will be able to do that. But it's just interesting. I don't know what you guys' thoughts personally with the movie, with Natalie, like with her Nina.
I was very fortunate and I got to go through that at school, as you guys know better than anybody. Like we opened our rep season with Birdsong, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. So
Birdsong
was a
PDU. Will you give a little background of
play.
What is Birdsong?
What does PDU stand for?
Playwright Directors Unit. It's an original one act written by our very own Caleb John Cushing here on the podcast that starred Brandon McPherson, who's been talking, and directed by myself. That's how we kind of like got relationships going.
Shout out Sydney
so anyway,
Brandon, she'll be on one day.
And Sydney Amigo.
Yes, and by
Sydney
the way,
Amigo
I hope Sydney is feeling better out there. She is quarantining herself in some random city right now in a hotel. So I hope she's okay.
It's fucking insane. COVID, baby.
In a hotel, yeah.
Yeah, so that sucks, and
Stay
I hope
safe.
that she's doing okay. So this is it's a play that we worked on for 2 years, 2.5 years.
2.5 years, about, yeah.
2 years, and then so for the first year, Caleb had to rewrite for the class every week. So we got to work on a bunch of different scripts, and then the second year was mostly just rehearsing and working through things and getting it ready to go up for our off-Broadway season, for our rep season. And definitely my favorite play I've ever done, no question. So thank you, both of you. But it was a lot of pressure-wise and all of that, and opening the season and knowing like what we had. It was definitely a lot of pressure, and I definitely like one of the nights fucked up big time. But it was interesting where the pressure didn't come from anything else other than like wanting to do my best, especially for you guys. Does that make sense? Like, it was an interesting thing where the pressure changed from this outside perspective of like, oh, I just want to do well, or I want to be good, or it changed to I have a responsibility, to people I love and care about who have worked their asses off, and now I'm the one out there showing that off for them, which was a really positive way for it to switch.
I think that you've hit on something. I think you've hit on the key of it, Brandon. I think that the difference is where the pressure's coming from. Like internal pressure, like as long as you're being responsible and not like going overboard, like can be a very powerful motivator, but it has to come from you, like within.
Right.
Whereas like this movie and like other instances in the real world, in a lot of art, it's coming from like external forces. And that's when it becomes like super dangerous and like abusive and unhealthy. That's kind of like my look at it. That's like how I look at it.
And like the other side of that is too, I was also very lucky where you guys are super supportive. So anytime that I was having issues, you guys were just like, yo, chill, It's all good. Do your work, and it's going to be fine.
Right.
Yeah, because all art is supposed to be collaborative, and then you get these fucking egomaniacs who are like, no, my ballet is going to be the fucking definitive version of this thing that's been for 200 years, and it's like, I'll sacrifice whoever I have to achieve artistic greatness. When in reality, it's supposed to be a collaborative like thing and a celebration of, art and humanity.
I definitely think there's directors that are like Mr. Vincent out there. I do think, but like in the movie, it was kind of heightened in terms of the company being like, "Oh my god, are you okay? You just fell." The director's like, "What the hell happened? What'd you do?" And it's just like he's thinking about himself and this image of this perfect play. But in terms of our experience with Birdsong last year, it's Brandon. Like for me as a director, the actor's health is the number one priority. It's. I mean, we've done the work. I've done everything I can, but like you have to take care of yourself. And there is that pressure, and turns out that Birdsong kicked ass and it was one of the favorites in the entire year, design wise, acting wise, story wise.
Me too, man.
It was really
we'll
something
see.
special that I hope we can bring
that
up
thing
again.
should also be a goddamn Netflix show. Like there's your pilot right there, and then the rest of the season is like what happens next.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk about Birdsong too much. Yeah. but I mean,
Caleb's like, okay, we'll see. One project at a time. Cool. Any final notes or thoughts on
I
Black
feel like I've said
Swan
most
that
of what
you
I wanted
guys?
to say. I wish that we could have gotten into more about Darren Aronofsky, like the director. I think he's an interesting character, but I think there'll be more opportunities later.
I'm sure we'll hit more Darren movies.
Do you want to?
I just mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with his filmography. I think he's just like, he's so hit or miss with me. Like, this is my favorite movie that he's done. And I looked it up and it's because he didn't fucking write it. So,
You like it better than Requiem?
yeah, man, I think Requiem for a Dream is one of those movies that's so fucking like oppressive with how it's trying to be like miserable and dark. And I think it's well done, but it's like one of those things, like I watched it, I was like, oh, I'll never watch this again because it's so fucking miserable. But Black Swan is like a total experience where I feel like mesmerized, and I feel like it's, he also has this movie called The Wrestler that's very good, but he didn't write that either. But the movies, I'm talking about shit like The Fountain or like Noah or like Mother, these like fucking pretentious, I don't know, fuck it. But he
considers The Wrestler a companion piece to this. Apparently, I was just reading that.
I can totally see that. Yeah. Very similar themes, The Wrestler and Black Swan.
Aronofsky called Black Swan a companion piece to his previous film, The Wrestler.
I think he's a really good director. I don't think he's that good of a writer, but I haven't seen his debut. Totally. His debut feature called Pi. I haven't seen it, but from what I have seen, I think he's a very strong visual director.
Wait, he did Pi?
Yeah.
I have seen that. You would like it. It's a very intense psychological thriller about a guy who's trying to figure out like something about the mathematical equation of pi.
I've heard it's good. I just for some reason haven't checked it out.
So I got a quote from Aronofsky here about The Wrestler and Black Swan. He said, comparing the two films, wrestling some consider the lowest art, if they'd even call it art, and ballet some people consider the highest art. But what was amazing to me was how similar the performers in both of these worlds are. They both make incredible use of their bodies and express themselves. So that's where his comparison's coming from.
I think that's a very valid comparison.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think
I like that.
Also just really good performances. Like I think both Natalie Portman and Mickey Rourke give like the performances of their careers in those movies.
Yeah, they both won.
Yeah. I mean, he knows how to direct actors really well. I just think that he's a bad writer, but that's just me. Other people might disagree.
Oh, right.
Other people might disagree. I saw Mother and it was a piece of shit, but that's fine.
That's another topic entirely in terms of the shows I've seen that have been directed by the writers, the playwrights, and I'm just like, missed opportunities galore.
What would you guys rate it? Like out of 5 stars?
I think I'd also have to say 4.
I would go.
I'm gonna say 5. I think it's a really good movie. What did you guys not like about it?
I found the beginning slow. That's it. Took me a while to get hooked.
All right, buddy.
I think nothing's perfect.
I'm gonna
Clearly, Josh has not watched A Knight's Tale yet.
Oh God. I'm gonna.
Okay, so then you've seen the perfect movie.
I have seen A Knight's Tale. We'll get to that though. So
wait, Brandon, do you want to go next?
I'll go next.
All right, what are we watching, Brandon?
I'm actually gonna go in a different space here in a movie that I wanted to watch really badly and haven't watched in way too long, but
Okay.
I would like to watch The Godfather.
And we're busting out the big guns early.
Okay, I've never seen it.
Yeah,
So.
I, Pacino that young, Pacino that at that time in his career he'd done off Broadway and Broadway, in theater stuff, and had not done film, and even getting that role was an entirely new experience for him at the time.
But dude, I fucking feel you. I'm saying let's do
Yeah.
it. Are we just watching the first one, or what are we doing?
Yeah, maybe we just start with the first one and go from there.
Cool.
All right, cool. Yeah, we'll watch the first. Well, okay. So next episode's the fucking Godfather.
Love it.
Love it. All right, Josh. Sid,
Love it.
enough.
I figured I have to save A Knight's Tale in my back pocket.
Oh God. As long as you don't make me watch Armageddon like you were talking about the other day.
Shit, we're definitely watching Armageddon at some point.
I
And
Okay.
I don't want to miss a thing.
don't
great movie.
wanna close my eyes.
Don't want to fall asleep.
Weren't you telling me that he didn't know that Liv Tyler was his daughter for like a long time?
For like the first 16, 17 years of her life.
But that's got nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
Great. So awesome.
I'm stoked.
Well,
I'm
thanks
excited.
for
I like it a
joining
lot.
me on this great discussion. I thought it was really fun. So, yeah.
Hey, sounds
All
good.
right.
Three
Goodbye.
guys
MFAers on
later.
Black Swan.